Hello everyone, my name is Naman Goyal and this is lecture 2 of this chapter, which is introduction to graph, right? In previous lecture we learned about bar graph and pie charts, right? Okay, in today's lecture we are going to learn about what? See, we are going to learn about histograms, line chart, linear graph, coordinate axis and coordinate of points and its applications. See, these two graphs, linear graph and coordinate axis and coordinates of a point, is very important, right? These are important, but these two are very important. Okay, this photo is what? Bar graph. This is what? Bar graph, right? Okay, so first we are going to discuss about histograms, right? Okay, so histograms and bar graph, in both the graphs we use rectangles, right, to represent our data, right? But the difference between the two graphs is what? There is no distance between bars, right, in histogram, but in bar graph the distance between the bars is there. Okay, so we can say that a histogram is an approximate representation of the distribution of numerical data. It was first introduced by Carl Pearson. Okay, a histogram is a plot that let you discover and show and the underlying frequency distribution of a set of continuous data. This allows the inspection of the data for its underlying distribution. Okay, so basically what we do in this histogram, we represent the data, right, for interval. If interval is given, if class interval is given, then we are going to use this graph. Okay, now there is a sign like this. Okay, this sign is known as what? Kink. Why we use this sign, kink sign? Because if you see, the difference between these 2 points is 10, and after that the distance is for 5, right? Means in starting the difference is non-uniform, after that it becomes uniform. So for showing that the difference between the starting point is non-uniform, that's why we make a kink, right? Got it? So this is what? Histogram. Okay, I think you got my point. Okay, now see, now there is a question we have to do. In this question, Uncle Bruno owns a garden with 30 black cherry trees. Each tree is of different height. The height of the trees in inches is given below. So there is a data given. Okay, so what we have to do, first we have to draw in which? In class interval form, right? If we want to draw histogram, then what we have to do, we have to draw the class interval table. Okay, so there is a class interval and frequency, we can say that. Okay, so we are going to start with 60 to 65, 65 to 70. Okay, then 70 to 75, then 75 to 80, then 80 to 85, and 85 to 90. Okay, we are going to do this. Now see, how many trees are there whose height is in between 60 to 65? Okay, 65 is not included in this class, 65 is included in this class. Same for 70, 75, 80 and 85. Okay, now 61, how many trees are in this class? 1, 2, 3. Now for 65 to 70, 1, 2, 3. Now 70 to 75, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now 75 to 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 80 is not included in this class, 80 is included in this class, right? So how many we got? Let me count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now 80 to 85, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 85 to 92, right? So we have the data. Now we are going to draw the histogram. Okay, so we are going to draw the histogram here. Okay, Okay, so there is a mistake in this table. So this is not 65, this is not 75, this is 65. This is what, 65 to 70. This is 70 to 75. This is 75 to 80. This is 80 to 85. And this is 90 to 90, 85 to 90. This is what, 85 to 90. Now regarding frequency 3389, right? 852, 952, right? This is 9. Yes, this is 9 and this is 5 and this is 2. Now we are going to draw the table with this, right? Now see. Okay, listen. So class interval, or we can say that height, and number of trees on y-axis, number of trees on y-axis. Okay, now we started from 60, right? Then 65, then 70, 75, 80, 85 and 90, right? Now see, we started non-uniformly, so what we have to do, we have to place a sign which is known as kink sign, right place. Okay, now for 60 to 65, the bar is of height 3, right? So first of all we have to mark, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, right? So for 60 to 65, the height of the bar is 3, right? So we have to draw this bar. Okay, now 65 to 70, it is again 3. So like this. Now 70 to 75, it is 8. So like this, right? 75 to 8, 75 to 89, like this. 80 to 85, 5. And 85 to 90, it is 2. Like this. We have to draw like this, okay? So we got this graph. Are you getting my point? So if you see this graph, see, first of all, this is 9 and we have to take this to this part type, this part, right? And this is not 1, this is 2, right? So this part we have the answer, okay? Okay. So this is the answer for required this question, okay? Got it? How we draw the histogram? Okay, now next is line chart. In line chart, what we have to do, we have to draw the data represented by lines, right? So a line chart or a line plot or line graph or curve chart is a type of chart which display information as a series of data points called markers. The points we know, see, this is, these points are known as what, markers, okay, connected by a straight line segment. Okay, okay. So here this blue line shows bears, dolphins and whales. So in 2007 the number of whales, the number of bears is this, and in 2018 the number of bears is become this, like this, right? So these types of information are going to be showed by, represented by line chart. Okay, now we have to draw line chart for this particular question. Okay, yes, are you getting my point? Okay, see how we do this. See the data we have. On x-axis we are going to take years, on y-axis we are going to take gross profit. Okay, now the table below this depicts the annual gross profit of a company for a period of 5 years. Study the table and draw a line graph for the same. So for 2003, for 2004, 14, 2015, 2016, 2017, right? Now we can start it from 0, then we have to take 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18, right? Like this. Now first of all, what we have to do, we have to mark the markers, right? Markers are what, points. So for 2013 it is 17, so the point we have this point. Okay, For 2014, it is 15.5. So for 2014, it is 15.5. 15.5 is like this, right? Now 2015, it is 14.4. So it will be like this. 2016, 12 by 12.1. It is like this, right? 2017, it is 14.9, right? So we got this graph. Now we have to connect these markers with these points by a line. So we got this graph. So this is the graph of required answer. If you see, we got this. If we draw the graph on proper graph paper, then it seems like this. Let me tell you how we draw this. First of all, we have to mark y-axis. This is x-axis, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, right? Now see, now the question arises in our mind. Ki sir, here why we don't take king sign? Because see, 2013, 14 is not shows a range. 2013 represent a particular value, right? If I write down apple, mangoes, it's just like that. Are you getting my point? So that's why there is no need to take kink over there. Okay, now if you see the data for 2017, it is 2013, it is 17. So if you see 16 to 17, 10 blocks are there. So this is 17, right? Okay, so we have to draw like this, right? We got this graph. Are you getting my point? Okay, so this is what line graph, right? Now in this graph, line graph, we got so many lines. So what is the difference between linear graph? If we got a straight line for a particular graph, if we got only one straight line, then that graph is known as linear graph. For example, if I draw the graph like this, so there is only one straight line. This is y-axis, this is x-axis. So this graph is known as what? Linear graph. Got it? Okay, now let me show you how we draw this and what is the meaning of linear graph. The word linear stands for a line. Okay, a linear graph is a graphical representation of a straight line. As I told you, if we got one straight line, then that graph is known as what? Linear graph. It showcases a linear equation in two variable and shows the linear acquisition between the two quantities. So which types of equations is represented by straight line or linear graph? The linear equation in two variables. So if I write down 2x plus 3y is equals to 6. So the graph of this quantity is represented by linear graph. Okay, this is what linear equation in two variable. Got it? Got it? Okay. So if I am going to talk about journal, okay, so linear graph represent the graph of ax plus by plus c is equals to 0. The equation which is in the form of ax plus by plus c is equals to 0 are going to be represented by linear graph. So if you see, this graph is what? A linear graph. Got it? Okay, now there is a question. We have to draw the linear graph and check if it is linear. Obtain the graph to check this. Okay, now see, the equation we have minus x plus y is equals to 1. So what we have to do, we have to find out the points. Okay, so y can be written as x plus 1. So we have to draw a table, right? Like this. See, if I take the value of x and what value of y we got. If I take x as 0, then y is what? 1. If I take x as 1, y is 2, x is 2, y is 3, x is 3, y is 4, x is 4, y is 5, and so on. So we have to plot these points, right? First of all, we have to plot these points. This is x-axis, this is y-axis. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, now first of all we have to plot the points, right? And which points we have? See, first point is 0 comma 1, 0 and 1, right? So for if x is 0, the value of y is 1, so the point is this, right? Okay, when x is 1, y is 2, so when x is 1, y is 2, so the point we got this one. When x is 2, y is 3, this point we got. When x is 3, y is 4, this point we got. When x is 4, y is 5, this point we got. Okay, so if I join these points, we got a straight line. Okay, so this is what linear graph. Okay, okay. For making a linear graph, minimum 2 points are required. For note, there is a note. For making a linear graph, minimum 2 points are required. Okay, minimum how many points are required? 2 points are required. Okay, when we got 2 points, we can draw a linear graph. So this is linear graph, right? The equation in the form of ax plus by. See, this equation is in the form of what? Ax plus by plus c is equals to 0. If I compare this, so this can be done as minus x plus y minus 1 is equals to 0. So if I'm going to compare this equation with this equation, then what I got? A as 1 minus 1, sorry, b as 1 and c as minus 1, right? I got this. Okay, so that graph is what? Linear graph. Okay, so if you see, we got this linear graph. The graph is, therefore the graph is linear. Okay, now the concept behind coordinate axis, right? Okay, now see, we have two axes. One is x axis, next one is y axis. Okay, this point is the intersection of x axis and y axis, and the point of intersection of x axis and y axis is known as what? Origin. So this point is what? Origin. Are you getting my point? This point is what? Origin. Okay, now this is positive x-axis, this is negative x-axis represented by x dash. This is positive y-axis and this is negative y-axis represented by y dash. Okay, okay, now see, let me change the color. Okay, first, now see, two coordinate axis divides any plane into four part. This is first, second, third and fourth. So this is known as, this part is known as first quadrant. This is known as second quadrant. This is known as third quadrant. This is fourth quadrant. Got it? Okay. Okay. Now the points, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here -1, -2, -3, -4. This is also -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on, right? Okay. Now listen. The coordinate plane has two axes, the horizontal and the vertical axis. Horizontal axis is known as what? X axis, and vertical axis is known as Y axis. These two axes intersect at one another at a point called origin. As I told you, the point at which these two coordinate axes are intersecting, the point is known as origin. Okay, now the coordinate of a point are a pair of numbers that define an exact location on two-dimensional plane. Now see, if there is a point, now I want to represent the location of this point. So what we can say that this distance is 2 and this distance is also true. So the coordinate of this point is what? 2 comma 2. First we have to write down x part. This is x part and this is y part. So if 2 is this there, so we can interpret it that ki x part is 2 and y part is also 2. If I take a point like this, so the coordinate of this point is what? 3 comma 1. Why? Because x is 3 and y is 1. Now for this point, the coordinate of this point is what? Minus 4 comma 3. Why it is minus 4 comma 3? Because x is minus 4 and y is 3. Okay, now if I represent this point, it is what? 2 comma, let me erase this. It is what? 2 comma minus 3, because x is 2 and y is minus 3, right? Okay, so what we can conclude, if any point is in first quadrant, the x coordinate and y coordinate both are positive, isn't it? If the point is in second quadrant, x is negative, y is positive. If the point is in third quadrant, x negative, y be negative. For fourth quadrant, x positive, y negative. Okay, so this is all about what? Coordinate axis and coordinate of a point. Got it? Got it. Now there are some applications. Okay, okay, we are going to learn them. Now there are some applications of graph. Depending on how the value, first application is what? Depending on how the values of a variable change with respect to another, we have two types: independent and dependent variable. Okay, so what is independent and dependent variable? Let me show you. If I write down y is equals to x plus 2, so in this there are two variables. One is y and second is x. So x we are going to take from our side. With respect to that x, y change its values, right? So y is depend on x, but x is independent. So in this we can say that x is what? Independent variable, and y is what? Dependent variable. Okay, now independent or control variable is one where its value doesn't change with respect to another quantity. If we change, if y getting changed, then x will not change. Okay, dependent variable is depends on the another one. If we change x, the value of y will getting changed. For example, this in this table, if I'm talking about in this table, if you see, if we change the value of x, the corresponding y will getting changed, right? If we take 0, x is 0, y is 1. If x is 1, y is 2, right? So y is depends on x, but x is not depends on y. Okay, okay, okay. Now next is, for example, consider the quantity of electricity consumed, the electricity bill. Okay, so electricity consumed is not dependent, but the bill you got is totally depends on what? How much electricity you consumed, right? So the quantity of electricity consumed doesn't depends on any other quantity, hence it is an independent variable. The electricity bill, right, the electricity bill however can change with respect to the amount of electricity consumed, hence it is an dependent variable. Okay, okay, so with the help of graphs, what we can do, we can establish a relation between two types of variables. Okay, dependent and independent variables. So the last point is what? Graphs helps to establish the relation between these two types of variables visually with the help of Cartesian plane. See, what is Cartesian plane? The plane which contain x-axis and y-axis is known as Cartesian plane. This is Cartesian plane. Are you getting my point? Okay, simple, very simple. Okay, so these are some applications. Okay, now we have some data, then we have to draw what? We have to draw the histograms, right? Okay, now see, in a hospital there are 20 newborn babies whose age is increasing order as follows. So 111, 2, 3, 5 times, and 3 like this, and 4 and 5. So what we have to do, we have to draw the histogram, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? Isn't it? So like see, for 1, now see 1 is in middle, right? So we have to draw the graph till this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. We don't have so much space. Okay, so it is 7. Okay, let me show you the graph here. Okay, now if you see, for 1 year the graph is up to 4, right? For 2 years the graph is up to 5. For 3 years the graph is up to 8, है ना? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. For 4 graph is up to 2, and for 1 5 it is 1. Okay, very simple graph. Now next is what? The following table shows the percentage of students who dropped out of school after completing high school. So in 2005, 6%, 2007, 5.5%, 2009, 5%, 11, 4.5, 13, 4.9, 15, 4, and 17, 4.5. So we have to draw linear graph, line graph basically. So we have to mark, what we have to do, we have to mark all the years on x-axis and all the percentage in y-axis. So first we have to draw the markers, plot the markers, right, like this. Okay, then we can join that marker and we got our answer. Got it? Now next question. Mr. Marriott asked John to tell about the nature of the graph of this one without plotting it value. Can you help John to who is struggling to answer this? See, what is the nature? What is the meaning of nature? Nature is what? If we increase x, or if we increase x, the value of y is what? Okay. So if you see, first of all, the graph, we don't have space here, so we are going to do on next page. Okay, so the equation we have for this is what? 3x minus 7y is equals to 16. So as you know, this graph, this equation is in the form of ax plus by plus c is equals to 0. So the graph of this particular equation is what? Linear graph. Got it? Okay. Okay, so basically the graph is represented what? Linear graph, है ना? This is linear relation between x and y. This is the answer. Okay, if you read this answer, then what you will got? 3x plus y is a linear equation in two variable. That's the first thing John needs to observe. Okay, next he needs to recall that any linear equation in two variable also represented by a line. Okay, by a single line, right, like this. These two pieces of information are sufficient to tell about the nature of the graph. Okay, the given equation represent a linear graph. Got it? So this is all about this chapter. Now the chapter is completed. You can do questions from your book, from NCERT, or from any other reference book. Okay. Okay, so in today's lecture, what we learn about? We learn about histograms, line chart, linear graph, coordinate axis, and coordinates of a point applications. Okay, so this chapter is very important. You have to remember all the things, and you have to practice more and more questions. Okay, that part which contains coordinate geometry, coordinate system, is also comes in 9th class and is also there in 10th class. Okay, in 11th class also. So this part is very important. Okay, so at the end, thank you so much. Stay safe and enjoy. Bye.